U današnjoj epizodi Watchlist podcasta gledamo se sa titlovima. Razlog za to je što u studiju imamo jednog specijalnog gosta iz Austrije sa jednim posebnim zadatkom u Bosni i Hercegovini. Sa nama je Darrel Toulon. Ko je Darrel, šta je gledao i šta preporučuje, vidjet ćete u današnjoj epizodi. Uživajte. As I made an introduction, today with us, Darrel Toulon himself. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's very nice to have you here, especially to see how Ayub will do with the subtitles of our conversation, since we are doing this in English. I will try to make his life worse as possible. We will talk very fast, and we will use big words, so we'll make a tough time for him. All jokes aside, it's very, very nice to have you here. And for those who don't know who you are, the general public in Bosnia and Herzegovina knows you as the guy behind the theater play U ime oca, in the name of the father. There is a very interesting origin story about how you came across to these kind of stories and how you decided, to put all your other artistic life on one side, maybe pause it for a bit to work on this very sensitive topic. And for those who don't know, the topic is war children who are born as
a result
of war crime, of rape.
Yeah.
Wow. It feels a lot when you say it out loud. It is a lot, and it's incredibly important for people to have that in public space, to have those kind of debates. And theater is a lot of times the best way to address such sensitive topics.
Yeah, I'm absolutely convinced that theater is the best way to do this, because there's something about the live performance that on one hand, it's possible you can put a camera in front of somebody, you can get them to speak about it, and then it's saved. But in a live performance, when the text is coming at you from somebody who's living and breathing, I love the whole concept that until the word is actually spoken, it's not out. And the beauty of a live performance is being in that space, this immediate space where you can feel the thought and you feel where it's going, and then the word comes out and then it comes across. So I do believe the theater is a really wonderful medium for creating this space. And I think if we as theater people do our work well, we create, even if it's based on fact, or especially when it's based on fact, we create an illusionary place of being that people can sit with it. So we've got the poetry of the movement, the pause, the aesthetic of the costume. You use lighting change to create a different set of atmosphere. You have things happening in the front, at the back, maybe inside you, around you. And it's a total body experience in the space. And I think that live theater, live performance is where this where this can happen the most. My conviction.
Yeah. The origin story I mentioned is for me is incredible. How you, as an artist, got involved in this topic. I would love for you to share with us, how come you came across this topic in general, since you live in Austria, you teach there, you have your entire artistic life and personal life there.
Yeah, but you hit the nail on the head. This is it. In Austria, I at the time was ballet director of the second largest opera house and running a company
in Graz.
In Graz, yes, in the city of Graz, and was invited by the Austrian ambassador in Kosovo, to create a piece for the National Ballet in Pristina. So this all sounds really wonderful, right? Ballet director, opera house, ambassador. And I arrived with an artistic idea of using two different string quartets from Debussy and from Ravel, and doing beautiful music, beautiful dance with 8 dancers. And what happened is, within 24 hours of me being in Kosovo in December of 2014, I realized just where I was, and that the artists working with me under quote-unquote the name ballet dancers of National Ballet were actually child survivors of the Kosovo War. There were still quite a lot of visual reminders of the war. There were a lot of tanks. In the restaurant we were sitting, a couple of soldiers came in armed to the teeth. I was just like, where am I? What is this place? And in conversation with the dancers, I realized that they had been they had been witness to a lot of atrocities during the war. They had experienced stuff. They were refugees running along the train tracks with their 2 plastic bags with all of their belongings, or being separated from their families. Really like wartime situation. I was like, geez, I was not prepared for this. I was shocked that they had gone through stories like that, because first of all, I didn't imagine that was the reality of these people, and that not only had I not known these stories, I was thinking, people don't know this, not the people that I'm sitting with in the opera house, and these stories need to go out. And so I just pivoted. I did the only thing that was possible for me at the time, and it was to throw out my arty idea of classical string quartets and beautiful dancing, and instead to tell the stories. So the piece,
their
stories, yeah. So the piece became Your Story is My Story. That's the title, and that is actually the title of this part of my life. And after doing this, I just realized, man, everything that I have learned to do has prepared me for this. Because one of the dancers asked me, I said, this is amazing, your stories, this should be on stage, that's what we should be doing. And one of them said to me, do you know how to do this? And I lied. I was like, yeah. I didn't know how. I just knew that I had to. The correct answer was yes. How are we doing this? Okay, let's start. And I think since that day, I have been trying with absolutely everything that I do to learn how to do this better. And it was a journey. It was, there were many moments where I was thinking, okay, this is not working, but there were never moments when I felt this is wrong. I should go back and I should do something else. And a couple of years later, going back to Kosovo and realizing that they keep performing this piece over and over, they're asked to perform this a lot of times, and there's people coming back, and people tell me, for the first time we can actually sit with our story and be in the space and be with it. So I think what this piece taught all of us is that it is possible to confront things that are very difficult, that you don't have words, in a space like this. The music was Johann Sebastian Bach. There was solo partita for cellos. There was a grand chorale. There was a Brandenburg concerto, really beautiful music, 100 lighting cues, very complicated or complex choreographic structure with solos, duets, big ensemble scenes. So it was like big theater, as if I was doing, I don't know, Sleeping Beauty or Swan Lake or something, except the content was the stories of those dancers themselves, them processing what they had gone through and doing it in a way that was benevolent for them. It was healing for them. It was also healing for the community. And I was like, wow, okay. So I go back a couple of years later, and at this point, I'm trying not to avoid. Next to the theater, there's a fence with about 300 portraits of people, and I finally asked, so who are these people? And so we were in 2016, and someone tells me these are portraits of people who are still missing from the war. I'm like, wow, what kind of life is this? So many years on to still have somebody who's missing, right? So there's no completion. There's no closure. And I realized that the next piece I make has to deal with this as a subject. And so created the second piece, and it was called Juliet, No Romeo. So you come in thinking it's about Romeo and Juliet, which it is. Halfway along the piece, the war comes along, Romeo goes missing, and so Juliet then becomes a contemporary woman in society, in post-war society, trying to find what's left of her Romeo so she can finish that story. And in the middle of this, we started talking about, okay, so what happens to women in wartime situation? You know, what is this gender thing, and how does it feed out, and what is the consequence of this? And there we came to the theme of wartime rape, and what is the result of wartime rape are the children born of war. Nobody who I spoke to at the time was equipped, willing, or able to talk to me about this. I'm willing to say that I probably didn't know how to ask the question in a sensitive way, or I maybe just hadn't met the right people.
Yeah.
And
But that's like cherry on the top of a very ugly cake, which is war crimes, is a war crime of rape.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's like children born out of that war crime. So you kind of, it's not something that people usually talk about, and that's probably the reason why you didn't get your answers.
Yeah,
because that's like ongoing trauma. Nobody processed it. We didn't even knew about it until certain events that we will probably talk about, which led, of course, to your Ujme theater play. But it's probably the most common sense thing that you didn't get your answers then, because it's huge trauma.
Yes, and it was officially this whole chapter of Children Born of War did not really come into public domain until 2018.
Yeah.
So this is me in 2016 searching on the internet and not knowing how to search. What the hell am I looking for?
Yeah.
It took almost a year from that point for me to discover the name Alan Muhic. It took another 6 months for me to discover that there are a host of researchers, including Dr. Amre Delic from Tuzla, who are involved in an international project which is researching children born of war in the 20th century. And so this is there's kind of like I started my circle somewhere. There was this research going on somewhere, and then we finally hooked up in 2018. I attended a symposium organized by Dr. Amre Delic in Sarajevo, and that was the first time the children born of war were introduced into society, and that was also not like an open call. This was only for researchers coming to talk about the research, what they had done internationally. That was the very first time that Aina Jusic was making any kind of a public statement, and that was the day that I met Alan Muhic, who I had been researching all of this time. And then here we coming closer to the connection. Amre Delic said that you have to come and visit me in Tuzla, which I did in the summer. And that summer of 2018 was when I met you. And you said, wow, what a cool idea. Come and do it in my theater. And here we are. 7-8 years later.
We're doing
second
second
the
play.
second run.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think you are part of something really big in terms of that you were one of the essential parts of coming out of that story in the society. I feel like I'm well informed, especially about those kind of things. But I have to admit that I didn't knew a lot. I didn't knew the word that you use, forgotten children of war, zaboravljena djeca rata, that what they are doing and stuff like that. So it was very eye-opening for me. And that's exactly what we did with the general public, with the people who came to see the play. We opened one extremely heavy subject, and you did it in a marvelous way. maybe when you pitch the idea, it's like that's really traumatic subject that you are dealing with. Maybe the dance and the music is not the best way to do it. Are you going to be respectful toward the subject and stuff like that? So that would be the logical questions in my head. But that's exactly how it's supposed to be done.
Yes, and I think that's exactly what we witnessed on the opening night.
Yeah.
One of the actors recently asked me, what did you think when the show was over? And I remember almost like melting into the wall and looking at 350 total strangers from all walks of life in Tuzla, reaching out and embracing a bunch of actors and a bunch of children born of war. And then finding you on the side and thinking, this was just like so cool. Thank you so much for making this possible, because it wasn't about you in the end. I mean, you said come make it in my theater. It wasn't about me. It was about like a worldview changing for people really in that moment.
Yeah, and we were part of some trajectory that led to Aina Jusic, president of the Association of Forgotten Children of War, speaking at the General Assembly at the United Nations. So you had like a completely unknown story, unknown subject, unknown topic in society, and fast forward a couple of years in advance, and you see, totally different picture. And of course, a lot of professionals, a lot of people with great enthusiasm worked in their respected fields, including Aina as the face of general movement. For those who don't know, Aina is a person whose life inspired the film Grbavica and stuff like that. So it's like a movie story, and I'm glad it turned out that way. And I remember performing in Croatia, in Osijek, in Vinkovci, and stuff like that. So it was universal thing. It didn't pointed fingers at anybody. The point wasn't to say who is wrong and who is right, but just to acknowledge that those people exist, and we have to accept them.
Yeah, and another wonderful thing is that in the wake of all of this, there was in 2022 the legislation which now recognizes the children born of wartime rape as civilian victims. Up until that point, they had not been recognized on that level.
Yeah, incredible things that show how art can be powerful. Of course, I'm not arrogant that much to say that the play itself, did the most of the job, but it did important part of the job,
if we think of the play, we got to also think of the process, because the actors also had to go from being professional actors who were working with text to confronting themselves as Bosnians, same age as those children born of war, realizing that they've actually been to school with some of them. And so the conversation that goes on in the families outside, even before we've gone on stage, I think there was a kind of a movement. Obviously, the people who were coming to watch the show were being prepared in some way. When they left the performance, they went back out. So this is another set of impact that is happening beyond, out and beyond of the confines of the amount of performance time we had. So I think it was, and also with the screening of this, we've done performances also in Austria. We've done workshops with university students from all faculties, politics, peace studies, psychology, social work, where elements of the production are used to get them to have a personal embodied experiencing of the story. And then we say, okay, this is a real story. This is like reality. This is consequence of war. And invariably, those people now having experienced what it's like to be inside of it, have a complete different connection to the whole concept. And that now is like way beyond what the theater production was. It's just like, all of the the repercussions, the waves.
Yeah, it's multiplying in the most beautiful way,
Yeah.
in all kind of directions. So that was a couple of years ago, but here you are now, again in Tuzla, again with the new lineup of cast members.
Yeah. We had a nationwide casting all over Bosnia. The idea was to have youngsters between age 20 and 29, we were thinking, from all over the country, who would be working together with this theme. So again, we're looking at an inter-ethnic, inter-national, inter-religious, inter-spiritual mix of people who are now dealing with just pure facts, stories of the children born of war. And the idea on top of this is how can we influence or how can we open the minds of this current generation, the generation that we're who were born after the war, with a piece of theater art, a piece of literature, a work that is really it's not about hate speech. It's just about like looking at the lives of these young people who are not responsible for everything that happened, for being born and for having this, but need to be integrated and need to be part of the society which is moving together. So the idea is hopefully there's some social healing coming out of that. And the cast is fantastic. We have students from the academy here in Tuzla who themselves have very varied backgrounds. The biographies are fantastic, and we have 2 actors from who currently live and work in Sarajevo. So they bring another perspective into the work. And I have with me an assistant who is an ex-student or currently a student at the Bruckner University in Linz, where I teach. So, and we'll also be using some of the experience of this with the students back in Austria to share a lot about the process.
Great. Great. Once again, you are on the spot, and I'll tell you how. Because when I was 20-ish youngster, we had a lot of programs, especially when I was in high school. We had a lot of projects that had the goal of some sort of reconciliation is probably the simplification of that. But we had a lot of activities that required of us to communicate with people who were on the other side in the war, to say that simple. And me as a high school student had numerous opportunities to travel to other cities, to meet people, to participate in certain activities. And the situation in general was much better than today in terms of those. When I say ethnic tensions, I just feel like I am accomplice to politicians who are trying to push that agenda. It's not ethnic. It's forcefully divided society on some sort of very imaginary borders, and they are trying to convince us that we are somehow different, but we are the same geographical space, everything. And unfortunately, there was more Bosnia-Herzegovina in entire Bosnia-Herzegovina in 2002 than it is today. And that is the result of the ongoing tension that we have while, and I'm not saying anything that is not, I'm not trying to be smart because it's a very simple thing to say. Okay. While political elites are using that situation, to justify their existence and to multiply their wealth, people are now living in much more tension than we used to, like in the early 2000s when it was still fresh from the war. I was working in Srebrenica in 2008, and I lived there for 1 year, and I can guarantee you that situation there was much better then than it is today.
Than it is now.
Some lines are crossed, but it's not a Bosnian thing anymore. We lived through many years thinking that it's our thing. We are somehow special in that in that hate, in that living in constant tension, which is artificial. It's not organic.
It doesn't need to be like that.
But today, we know that we are not so special. We live in a very toxic, very rude world where you don't have a basic diplomacy anymore. Everything is counted in likes and dislikes and how many followers you have. So unfortunately, we live in a time where empathy is
an all-time low.
Yeah, all-time low, and it's like a vintage something, something that we remember, because you have people online saying incredibly hurtful and toxic things to one another without ever.
But I think now you mentioned this online. Now we have the case that anybody can go online and anybody can can run their mouth. If the research is to be believed, it's also looking 30 years after Dayton, which was like set up to separate things. There's not really been on, and this would have to happen on many levels, but institutional and state-wise, a movement to create a unity. It's kind of more like this separatism. And if you put on top of that the case of unemployment or lack of prospect for young people to do something positive, we know there's like a brain drain. People are trying to get out of the country, of course, to save themselves and do something for their families. So there's kind of like an imbalance. And the other thing I do believe is that this transgenerational transformation of trauma has not been worked. So there hasn't been it hasn't been supported and given a space to allow people to have exchange, to allow people to share the hurt and share the pain. Because I think regardless on what side you were on, if you've lost 3 sons who haven't turned 18 yet, that hurts, man. That hurts. Yeah. It doesn't matter what side you're on.
And there is no political context that will make your pain go away or make it
better.
Less or better. Yeah.
So I think the more we can create spaces of being able to share pain, because the wonderful thing about sharing pain is that you realize, in me giving you like 5 minutes to put your head on my shoulder, I'm just realizing, wow, my shoulder is actually not as weak as it was. And this transfer then works in the other direction as well, so supporting it. I mean, we're mammals, we're like clan. We need the group, we need the support. But sometimes we need to make space for giving somebody a chance to express the pain, and then comes the reconciliation or the remembrance. One famous one particularly good writer, Tatiana Taksheva, has written a book which was published just last year, where she talks about unforgetting the war. So it's not about forgetting, but doing it in a different way so you can move forward. Really good book. I don't have the complete title here, but would recommend.
Okay. Well, you said the word recommend, and it's triggered me that we should be now focused on the main part of you being here, and it's creating our best possible watch list, read list for us and for the people who are listening and watching. You talked a lot about art as a form of dealing with a lot of heavy stuff, And I know you have a movie recommendation, which is kind of on.
Yes,
on
I
top of
do. I do. Sing Sing, the movie, which came out in 2023. This directed by Greg Quaidar and stars Coleman Domingo. Sing Sing is the prison, the famous prison in New York State. And for a couple of years, there was a drama therapy, drama rehabilitation project, which ran for, I think, seven or 8 years. And several inmates of the prison took part in this. At some point, it was stopped, and I'm not sure if it was just a short-term project or why it was stopped. But the statistics show that from all of the guys who did the drama project, like less than 10% were back in prison and less than 10% resorted to crime. The film is a proper full-length film, and there are 3 actors who are professionals, three actors are professionals, and everybody else are inmates or graduates from the prison. What happened at the end of the period of being in prison, being a prison cellmate, and doing this drama therapy, a couple of the guys then trained to become drama therapists, who then became social workers, and they're using drama to go into their neighborhoods and to restructure the minds of a lot of people. So it's just like positive, everywhere you look at it. And it's a movie like what I would love to make, right? You go into the prison, Sing Sing prison, which is not a fun ride. And you create a scenario and you create a series of scenes that keeps the tension going. And then at the end, you witness the power of transformation of art. And in particular, I do believe that there's art and art and art. But the art that uses the human body and the human voice as the main instrument, this is the one. And when you have people like really transforming themselves to create alternate realities, this is helping you to create an alternate reality system in your brain. You don't have to fall back into that single track that you've been grown up to believe that's all you're capable of doing, and then see where it lands you. Coleman Domingo was nominated for an Oscar last year. He didn't get it, but he was nominated. And I think a lot of people will probably have gone, what is this movie? And then they go. Unfortunately, it didn't play in huge cinemas in Austria. And it was off the charts almost as soon as it was on. So it was not like a mass following, but a movie that I think many people, if I was a school teacher, all my kids would be watching this, that it's so uplifting, it's so powerful, and so and shows you, may I say, in comparison to our Uimeotsa, what an evening at the theater, what a change this can do,
Is there something that you make your students watch? Is there some movie or something that you recommend, like must see?
There always is, and it's like if I look at it and it comes, but maybe I can jump into something else. And at one point we're going to be talking about books.
Okay.
And we know, if we're working in theater, that Peter Brook has written one of the seminal texts, The Empty Room, The Empty Space. And it's written in 1968. And this is just like a perennial text that is so relevant and so good and can be translated in so many forms in its simplicity. The empty space is all he needs. And just like one person enters the space, another person observes, and we already have a drama. We have a situation. And I found myself going back to this text just over the weekend in preparation for this last week work, and going into Peter Brook's concept of, also his idea of the word. He says, a word is a small visible portion of a larger unseen unknown. The word that I'm sending out, it's coming from a whole set of other places. And I think that is one really beautiful way also of approaching life, because somebody comes to you with a couple of words. You can take the word for what it is, or you can see the word as a small visible portion of, larger, and then you enter the space of this person, and then you can be more receptive, more empathic, understand this person more. Peter Brook's just like the coolest dude. As long as he lived and worked in theatre, I think he has influenced several generations. And even today, this is a text that is relevant. I think it's relevant for dancers, it's for musicians, it's for actors. There's so much you can take out of it.
Yeah. Okay, so first recommendation was Sing Sing.
Yep.
Okay, the custom of our Watchlist podcast is that I give my recommendation right now. So I always try to give recommendations according to the people who I'm sitting here with. So when I watched this movie, I remembered you, and it was a little bit before you came for the second time in Tuzla. You probably heard of 20 Days Later movie, the zombie apocalypse movie. It's Danny Boyle's movie. It's the first movie that put zombies in mainstream with Cillian Murphy and a lot of great British actors. It's a British movie. It's about a pandemic which causes people to turn into zombies. And first movie was 28 Days Later. Then we have 28 Weeks Later. And there was a long pause. And we had 2 years ago, we had a comeback of the franchise with 28 Years Later. And it was good. It was really good. It set up a new environment, new old environment for the new generation of people who should watch it. And it was really good. It was refreshing. It was better than 28 Weeks Later for me. And the cool thing about it was there was this Ray Fiennes character where he plays some doctor who is living like an outsider. He's not part of any community. He lives by himself, and he's doing pretty good. He is doing some research and stuff like that. And in the 28 years later, we are following this kid who lives in a community that is functioning very well, has good rules. People are living, the best possible life in those kind of conditions. But the kid decides to wander off with his mother, who is sick. And we watch him, stumble in a lot of trouble. And at the end of that movie, 28 years later, he meets this very, very funny-looking gang. The BBC host, which turned out to be a child molester,
yes.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel, yeah. They all look like him.
Oh, God.
They all look like him. And they're wearing wigs that make them look like him. And
Jimmy Savile.
Jimmy Savile, Jimmy Savile.
Yeah.
Savile, yeah. And he meets them. And it's a tense meeting. And that's the end of the movie. And this year, we had 28 years later, Bone Temple, like the second part of the third part, if you follow me. Mm-hmm. Which is Ray Fiennes' movie, like he's the core of that movie. This kid is now part, which we followed in the first part, 28 years later. He is now part of that gang. He's member of the gang, and he travels with them. They do a lot of bad things, and they believe the leader of the gang believes that he is son of the devil, and he gets something like a cult following from those people. They are all very, very young. I forgot to say that. And he convinced them that he is son of the devil, and the devil talks to him, and he makes them do the things that the devil wants, not him. So they see this doctor, the character that Ralph Fiennes is portraying. And the doctor is doing the research on those zombies. They are like alpha zombies who are the leaders of the packs, of the herds. And he sees that something's happening there. Maybe there's cure, maybe there's not, but he's doing his research. And he has a bone temple. He collects the bones of the people who died, and he made like a bone temple. It looks amazing. And somehow he gets in touch with this gang, and they think he is the devil himself. And it's not as good as 28 years later, but it's worth watching because of the one scene where I remembered you.
Which is describe.
Which is he invites them as his audience. The devil, is making an introduction to them. And he plays 666, Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. And he dances. And he makes their heads spin, and he makes the whole movie worth watching. It's like one of the most beautiful scenes I have ever seen in a movie. You got like a full music on, and he is like performing for them. He's like doing the live version of a music video, and they are like, they are out of the world. And I don't want to. When we give recommendations, we try not to give spoilers.
Not to give spoilers.
Yeah, not to give spoilers. I think people should watch the movie. It's okay. Movie is okay, but this scene is amazing.
It's the business.
It's the business. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've got it on my list.
Yeah, I'm glad. Okay, we have one recommendation accepted. That's good. I'm happy with it. So, Ray Fiennes is a brilliant actor, and as he gets older, he gets better.
He gets better and better.
And better and better. Yeah. My second recommendation is also his movie. We will talk after your second recommendation, but I think this movie is worth watching, especially because of him.
Okay.
So, 28 years later, Bone Temple.
I've written that down. So let me throw my second recommendation, and that is Sinners.
16 Oscar nominations, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, I'm so happy for so many things. I wish a lot more people would have won. But where do we start with this movie?
Can I start, please?
Please.
Something I said off the record before we started filming. If you pitch me that idea, I would say no. Because there is not a single reason why this movie should be
work.
Good. You have like such diverse, but not in a good way, elements that shouldn't work together.
Yeah, it's also interesting when I came out of it like gushing, and I was calling my friends and saying, you have to this, and I mentioned, okay, what is it? Can we say what it is here? Yeah. So there's like, there's history, there's black, there's music, there's vampirism. There's racism, right? It's like, wait a minute, what are we talking about? And I'm like, yeah, but there's also incredible cinematography. There is a tight script. There is music that is, I mean, I think he got the Oscar for the music as well, right? It's phenomenal. The actors, there's not, like you say, there's not one scene that doesn't work. There are a couple of scenes that I think are so genius in the way the idea, which probably doesn't work, but really works because the concept is inside there. And through the combination of the camera, through the combination of the music, through the combination of the actors who can do it, but not just in terms of an actor, but also in terms of a mover and a being in the space with these continuous long shots. And that must be rehearsed. So it's also the director who knows how to set it up so it works. Of course, the one scene that we think of is when Miles Caton is singing "Somebody Take Me in Your Arms Tonight" and all hell breaks loose. This is an expression we have. And all the spirits of the past and the future like turn up.
And dance together.
And dance together in one space while the camera is doing a continuous. I mean, that's just like phenomenal. And for me, the other scene is, we say the blues comes from the soul, and the blues is a musical expression of the pain that couldn't be put into words. And Delroy Lindo is in the car driving back, and the shot is amazing in a wide cinema scope. And there is the chain gang on the side, and he says, keep driving, we don't want them to see us. And Chris like, the guy like, yeah. They put him in prison, and he's suffering, and he's like, whoa, and then he goes into this thing, and you hear Ethel Waters, man. you hear the birth of the blues right there, like deep. And a scene like this, I was sitting there going like, geez, it's genius on so many levels, because as the director, you have the idea, which is great. You have the cinema guys, you get the cameraman, and you do the measurements, and it's all there. And then you need music that's going to do this. So you need a good musician who knows how to create this out of the empty space.
Yeah.
And then you need the actors who can make the whole thing come alive. And it just works. It works on so many levels. As soon as I came out, I downloaded the whole soundtrack. And it's something that I listen to. I think the music is really phenomenal. Also, in the choice of the lead guy, the first time he opens his mouth, I mean, you're like, what? He's amazing. The songs are amazing. I did quite a lot of reading up that the composer did a lot of research, and it's based, really going back down south and finding source material and putting this together. And he's got so many different levels of like international folk music or indigenous music from all over the place. So when you have the idea of the spirits coming back, it's not just, it's like spirits from the entire world. I mean, the whole universe, everything opens up.
Yeah. And you feel like you're hypnotized.
Yeah, totally.
During that scene especially.
Yeah.
Okay, so. Yeah.
So what's your recommendation?
For the second movie, it turns out today I'm a little bit of Ray Fiennes' fanboy. Yeah.
Not bad. It's not a bad thing to be.
yeah, that's not a bad thing to be. I watched a very underrated movie. I don't know what year it is. I think it's a couple of years old. It's called The Return. And he plays, it's actually Odyssey. Odyssey. We call it Odyssea. It's the return of him from Ithaca, and it's a very claustrophobic movie because you follow his wife and his son, and there are a lot of people who want to marry her. She keeps refusing them, and the constant tension of them wanting her to make a decision, she knowing the consequences of that decision, worrying about her son and stuff like that. That's very very claustrophobic theme for a movie. You don't get to see a huge epic scenes in that movie. It's like a theater play. It's not claustrophobic in terms that it's happening in one small space like some movies do, who look a lot like a theater play. But you have the focus on characters, and you have him, Odysseus. What do you call it?
Do we call it the Iliad?
Yeah, but the character...
Ulysses.
Yeah. You have him who is everything but the hero we know he is. He is very old, wounded, and very weak. So he's going through his journey while we are watching her journey. It's Juliette Binoche, his longtime partner from Wuthering Heights and some other movies. She plays his wife. And you follow basically two stories. Her story, she's fighting off these incredibly persistent males who want to marry her. And you have his story where he's gaining strength and trying to come back home. Eventually he does come back and everything turns out good for him. But the way they made this movie, it's really my recommendation to watch it, because you don't watch it like a movie.
You said like you're sitting in the theater.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like you are watching it in theater. There are a couple of sword fights when he eventually returns to home, but there are no big things that are common in those kind of movies. It's a movie based on an epic, but it's not epic.
And then it's just one episode.
Yeah, it's very intimate. It's very character focused. And the something that I constantly talk about here is how I how I appreciate casting directors. You know, how good of a job they do. It's incredible. You know, as an actor, I try to understand their work. Sometimes I'm angry when I don't get the call back, and you know, it's sometimes it can be frustrating. But when I see such a good, you know, such a good choice being made, it's something that I respect a lot. Especially in the last years, you know, I realized. Probably because for the past 8 years, I myself was an executive producer in theater. So, you know, I know the process behind the scenes and how hard it is, you know, to find the right people for everything, not just actors.
And then find the right people who fit together.
Who fit together,
Yeah.
yes.
Chemistry.
And when you find those kind of characters, you know, I hate him when I see him. You know, if I need to hate him as a viewer, you know, that's the sign somebody did a good job, you know. And when I see kindness in someone's eyes, that's not acting. That's like finding the right person.
It's the starting point.
It's the starting point. You know, you have to have the person who fits the role. And this is definitely, probably I am affected with this Ray Fiennes virus lately, but I think I'm very, very objective when I say that it's a good movie. It's a good movie.
I believe you, but I mean, listen, I'm a Ray Fiennes fan as well. I actually saw him live in London, somewhere like in 2006 or 2007. Oedipus, phenomenal. I mean, the guy just
I hate you. Please.
The guy just has to like.
I hate
stand
you.
And then like
I hate you even more.
One shoulder, and you're like, you know, the world changed right here. Oh, he's the guy's brilliant. He's like, yeah. And I really get upset when people say things like, oh yeah, he's so talented. No. He is such a hard worker.
Yeah.
So you're just looking at the result of hard work, constant, you know. Yeah,
I watched both sides of that coin as an executive producer in theater. You know, I watched a lot of great actors who became great because they worked hard, and I saw a lot of good actors, talented actors that turned out to be not so good, and it's the practice.
Yeah, but it's the constant chiseling, huh?
Yeah.
I read somewhere somebody has said practice makes perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
So not just like practicing for the sake of it, you know, with an intentionality of like chiseling and moving in.
Yeah, there was this writer and journalist called Zuko Jumhur. In Bosnia Hercegovina. He was very famous in ex-Yugoslavia. He had a very unique persona. He was a TV personality, and he would probably do a lot of video blogging right now if he lived in this period. He was a YouTuber before the YouTube in the 80s and 70s, and his definition of a good man is something that maybe resembles what you were saying about a good actor, about Ray Fiennes turned out to be a great actor by his hard work, not just talent. And Zuko says something like this. I will try to paraphrase correctly. Journalist asked him, does he believe that he's a good man? and he says, I don't believe in good men. I believe in a smart man. Smart man knows that there is evil in him as much as there is good. And he works constantly hard every day. He works hard every day
To make the choice.
to make the choice and to make himself a good person.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, and after certain years, when you look yourself in the mirror, maybe, just maybe, you earned a little smile in the corner of your lips and to say, I did a good job. You know, so smart person always works on himself. And a good actor always works.
Always does.
Always does. So probably I am now enjoying the fruits of his hard work. And I'm glad that he has opportunities in Hollywood to show us what he's capable
What he can do.
of. But you can see it's a hard work, not just physical transformation. In the movie, this movie, The Return, and also in 28 Years Later, you see that he is in a very good shape physically. But that's just part of the puzzle, you know. So my earnest recommendation, The Return, with Ray Fiennes and Juliette Binoche.
Cool.
So we are moving to books, plays. How do you want to do it?
Yeah, I'd like to recommend a book, Yasam Allen, written by Alan Muhich and published last year, July of 2025. I haven't read it myself because the English version hasn't come out. But Alan Muhich was 11 years old when he was the first child born of war in Bosnia to make a public appearance. There's a short film that was made. I do not remember the director, a Bosnian person. And it was the first time that a child born of war was kind of like exposed. And his question was like, you know, where's my mother? What is the story behind? There was a second movie. So this was out. He was a little bit in the public eye, but not for long. You would have to really go and look for this. Then when he was 16 or 17, there was a second movie made where he was a bit older and possibly coming into contact with the mother and the father. And then Alan's story kind of like faded a little bit away. For insiders, he is really quite a prominent, he's quite a protagonist of Children Born of War. But now, having gone through all of those various processes, he has put his life together between covers, and it's a book that you can buy. And that, I think, is not just recommended reading, but it's almost like compulsory reading, I would say, for people here to sit with his story and read all, 400, 500 pages. There's one thing about the book, which you can always put it down if it becomes too much. You can pick it up again. You can go back to page 6 if you want. Sure, is this really making sense? And it's very adventurous for somebody with this kind of biography, not just to own the biography and to spread it out, but then to sit down and put it in text, have it written, have it published, and you know that now this is going to be read. I think this is something that should be, like it will be like the Diary of Anne Frank. It will be like The Long Road Home from the child soldier from Sierra Leone. Very important piece of literature, and at the moment only available in Bosnian. So for the Bosnian audience, no excuse. For the English speakers, we gotta wait.
Great. For those who don't know, Alan's story is one huge part of the play Uime Oca.
Yeah, actually, I consider Alan to be the key for Uime Oca, because had I never stumbled over his name, then I wouldn't be sitting here right now, because his name led to the researchers, and the researchers led to Tuzla as a location, and here we are.
Great. I love those kind of, series of events that lead to something beautiful, and I think everything about it is beautiful, and I'm glad to be one small part of that journey of knowing you. So you told me that because we have recommendations of movies, TV shows, books, music albums, and stuff like that, theater plays, and you said that you don't actually have a recommendation for TV show.
No, I don't get to watch TV. It's funny. I remember moving from Germany to Austria in 2001 to take on the direction of the ballet director, and I didn't have a television. And several times, the Austrian officials would come in, and they want to see how many things. And I say, I don't have a television. Nobody would have believed me. But since 2001, I do not possess a television. Of course, over my laptop, I watch various things. I don't know, like news, and very seldom I will watch like a series. I'll binge a series, but that's really very seldom. And for a while, it was a couple of years when my kids would come and spend Easter, summer, Christmas holidays, and then we would sit and watch something together. But I haven't watched a television program in ages. I read a lot, I travel a lot, I work a lot, I'm out in the field, I'm a people's person. I'm very seldom, I would say, don't watch TV.
Yeah, I think that's because that's worth telling here, because in every episode we have, of course, people who recommend TV shows and stuff like that. So this will be unique, and I really am glad that we have someone who can share this kind of perspective, because TV shows became a huge part of what people are generally watching. You remember the times when movies were the real thing and the TV shows were something that housewives watch, TV soap operas and stuff like that. So, of course, it changed with streaming services and stuff like that. But it's completely unavoidable right now, unless you are you.
Unless you're busy. I mean, I can tell you the last series that I watched that goes all the way back was Game of Thrones, but I didn't even get through the last
season.
The last season.
Many people will say that you didn't miss anything, that you watched all the good parts,
all the good bits,
all the good parts. Yeah. Yeah, of course, Game of Thrones is some sort of a milestone in the development of television, and in that way, and we can say a lot of beautiful things about it. I certainly am a fan, but the final season was a little bit underwhelming for me. Not so much, but people freak out online. It's popular to hate some things, and not just in sense of movies and TV, but generally. I'm a huge sports fan, and I know I watched the game, and I watched a decent player, and I go online and I see, if I didn't watch the game, I missed the worst performance in the history of football. And I'm like, it's not like that.
Surely not.
Yeah, and you see, it's like a hype. It's popular to hate something.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, we're living now in the space where everybody can be a publisher, everybody can be an editor, and everybody can put their opinions online, and this opinion, whether we value it or not, it matters because other people get incensed about it on the other side of the world. It's really good because it shows how connected we are, and actually how we need this connection. We need to feel that our opinion is important, so we put it out there and we keep waiting for the reaction to come back because we need this reaction. We need this connection. It's just a shame that the connection has gone from being more human and interpersonal to passing over all of this technological thing. And in the passing over technology, it loses a lot of the dimension.
Yeah.
And gone are the days when I would write you a letter and I have to wait for 1 week for that letter to get there, and then you streamline your thoughts to that and you write me back. And now everything is instant. It's instantly available. It's instantly to be responded, and if it's not, then there's a reaction to it. Or are you avoiding me? So there's a whole set of escalation. The German sociologist Hartmut Rosa published his book on escalation. I don't know if you're aware of this, 'cause it's maybe like about 10, 15 years ago. And he said what's wrong with our society at the moment is that we need so much and we can have so much and so fast. And no sooner do you set up a business, you have to be already thinking, how can you optimize your production? So even before you get this business on the leg, you're in stress because like after 5 years, you have to have like so much more. And he said that is the sickness of our society right now. He calls it escalation. After a lot of people saying, oh, you're such a pessimist, you don't think there's any future for man, then he sat down and he wrote this other one. And now he talks about resonance. So the Hartmut Rosa resonance theory is something that resonates quite a lot with me. I do find a lot of explanation. I find a lot of vocabulary for what I'm doing. And I think that lies at the bottom. So the resonance theory has four portals, and the first is that
I feel like I'm having an afternoon coffee with my wife because she constantly quotes that book to me.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. So that could have been one of the books that I could have
met him in Germany.
Wow.
Is it possible?
Surely. I met him in February at a conference. Was she at that conference?
February.
In Berlin?
No. She was last year in Germany somewhere.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, he gets invited all over the place.
It's like a huge blue book.
Huge. Yep.
Yeah. It's sitting on my desk.
Yeah, you should see my version. It's got like yellow post-its all in there. But yeah, so the thing with the resonance is that we want to come in a harmonic sphere with other things. And sometimes with all of the technology and this shooting up of impulse and the need to be immediate, because we can now it's possible to immediate, we lose the space for letting your frequency meet my frequency and then see where this is going. So we're losing the resonance with each other, with society, with what we're doing. Recently, I was asked to speak at a conference on resonance because the conference director, a designer, the person who was responsible for it, just looked at the work that I was doing here in Bosnia or in the Philippines or in Uganda. And she said, wow, this is just like, it's right there, to get the people like the children born of war or the children born in captivity to get to a place where they are able to, one, accept their biography, transform that into something else, put it in a space so that the people who they need to communicate with can sit and be with this and don't feel like it's a confrontation, it's not an aggression thing, and that there is space to enter communication and move forward. That is the resonance, in flesh playing out.
Great, yeah.
I didn't know your wife was into Hartmut Rosa, yeah.
Yeah. She was very, very impressed with the entire concept and everything. Yeah, she really enthusiastically shared with me, similar as you are. So I'm thinking this watch list episode probably looks a little bit different than what we are used to in terms of recommendations and everything. And I'm thinking while you were talking about the movie Sinners, I think that, okay, we are not saying something that majority of people don't know, that Sinners is a good movie. Obviously, it has 16 nominations. But I think it's a good thing to talk about it in the sense that you did, because sometimes people need a little nudge. When I started my education at the Academy of Drama Arts, I had a teacher of history of the movie, and we were watching a movie, and the first thing he taught us is that we don't know how to watch a movie. So I think there are a lot of people who would enjoy Sinners, but not in not in a way that you described. So I believe, and I really want to believe, that somebody who watched the movie or watched the bits of it or had intention to watch it will listen to you and go and rewatch it.
And in a different way.
In a different way.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, I felt so dumb. We were watching the I don't know the English word, Potemkin.
Battleship Potemkin.
Battleship Potemkin, yeah. And he asked a simple question.
What did you see?
What did you see? And I didn't know. I missed it.
Yeah, you didn't know what it was.
Every time they are on the ground, you are watching them through the bars. So
what is that saying?
Unlike other people, they feel on the land, they feel like they're in prison. On the sea, they feel like they're liberated. And I was like, those bars are, in front of my eyes, and I wouldn't see them in a million years.
Yeah.
And that's why you are the professor and I am a dumb student. It taught me a modesty about history of movies. Not just that example, but a lot of examples of small brilliance that is, stitched in the body of the movie, and you wouldn't see it if you are not concentrated, or you don't, or you are not.
I think you need to have a kind of an awareness of what So what is this like? The capacity to take all of this in. One student at the university, when I was telling her, you need to think of this and this and this and this and thing, and she said, "Oh, that's a lot of information to save." So I said, "What size is your memory stick?" And I was like, "Okay, you need a bigger memory stick. You need a big memory card."
Yeah.
Because there's, you can look. Let's go back to Sinners. You have one character playing twins. How do you do this? Even if you find out with a camera how to do this, how's the guy doing this? So it's the same guy, but it's two different characters. So is it just by accident? It can't be by accident because, first of all, you're not filming in sequence. So you need to know what you are doing in this scene as that character and as the other. And we know that he spent a lot of time with twins, finding out from them, how does this work? What makes how can you see the difference between the two? And so this goes into the way he speaks, his body posture. The easiest part of it is that one is wearing blue and one is wearing red. I mean, that's like, you just change the shirt. So no, if you know this and you go back and you watch it and you're just like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have that. Then you have the idea of just the cameras. You can, I think, many people will go like, "Wow, this feels like old-time Hollywood." The cotton fields forever. This feels like really wide. You don't really think about it, and then you're in the church, and it's like, okay, that's a different kind of thing. And then that the cinematography is so detailed. Not just in the framing, but the whole technology behind, the whole thing. And you go like, okay, you have to think of all of that as well. And just go, yes. And now you put it in the scene in the barn where all hell breaks loose. How do you do this? You got to rehearse this.
Yeah.
And it's not going to work the first time. So everybody has to be like really precise. There's something about the idea of precision, which I think is a little bit lost in our current generation. And I see this with students of acting, students of acting, of dance, not in music, because the students of music are kind of like drilled to the scores.
They need to be precise.
They need to be precise. You can't be anywhere. And for the other body arts, it seems that the idea of being precise is, with post-colonialism, has gone a little bit. It's no longer necessary. But I believe in like clockwork precision, like really working. You need to know what you're doing. There was a time that I thought choreography, when you choreograph a piece, is about making movement. And one of my teachers said, no, it's mathematics. Because the first scene, if it's more than 3 minutes and the second one is 5, you're losing your balance. Or if you have 28 bars or 4 bars, you're losing. I was like, what? I was like, yeah, it's mathematics. So again, you have to be precise. You have to have a clear structure. For the actor, you have to know precisely where you are on this sentence and precisely where you are on that sentence in terms of your head. If you're doing this on the stage, then I think my staging is like really, on one hand, there's somebody like Peter Brook inside, but there's also the Robert Wilson use of light and space and time, or Robert Lepage. I think those guys are like pretty phenomenal, and it's really very precise. You have to be here and there. Working precise allows you to be so free afterwards, because even if you're a little bit to the left and to the right, basically you're so on the point. This works for dance. This works for theater. This I don't know. It absolutely works for singing, because you're either on the tone or you're not. So again, the training has to go for this precision. And then if we come back to something like Sinners, to be able to have all of those pieces in the clockwork working and to produce this kind of thing, it's got to be precise.
Yeah. And it's something to be admired, because it's very hard, to have that kind of production, huge Hollywood production, and to put everything together. I had a book recommendation, but after all the beautiful things you said about Alan Muhich's book, I think you said some big words. You said it's not something that people should read. It's something that people must read, something that should be compulsory reading. It's Diary of Anne Frank of our generation. You also said it. So I would like to leave it with that in terms of the book recommendations. I hope all the people who are listening will go out and grab their piece and to see everything Alan wrote there. He opened his soul, and the last thing we could do,
is read it.
Is read it. Yeah. It was a huge honor to have you on the Watchlist podcast. I hope in some years we will make another episode with some new project that you will be doing here.
Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure to sit over with you and share the last couple of minutes.
That's it. It was the Watchlist episode with Darrel Toulon. Thank you very much.